that they couldn't be bothered, but they just really didn't give a
We're Stephen and Andy, caffeinated travel couple on a mission to see all 50 states. Join us on our epic road trip to see the U.S. in our camper van Ace.
Let's go!
Hello! We are not going to tell you guys where we are right now because that's part of our 2024 adventures, which will be coming soon. But you just finished watching the 2023 adventures, which ended in New Orleans. Hopefully you saw it. If you didn't, you got to do some catching up, and you're going to want to do it because in this video, we are going to share a bunch of the lessons we learned from our first run of van life.
Yeah. And we're gonna tell you some of the things that we didn't share when we made those videos. So let's dish.
All right, van lesson number 1, the wind.
Yes.
It is not your friend in a van.
Not at all. And we had no idea the U.S. was as windy as it is.
Right?
All across the U.S.
When we first encountered strong winds, we were in South Dakota, and we thought, oh my gosh, South Dakota, what the heck?
Oh my God, the wind right now is insane. It came out of nowhere.
We quickly learned that wind is a common issue all over the U.S., especially places like Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, and then especially up the center of the country like Oklahoma. And oh, but I'm getting ahead of myself because you haven't seen that one yet. This is a very windy country, and when you are driving a van or an RV, it just catches everything. It pushes you all over the road. It can be scary to sleep in.
And it is tough on the arms.
Oh, yeah.
It's a lot harder driving than we thought it would be.
And he took on most of that, so this guy's definitely in need of some shoulder massages.
Because I'm strong.
That is the one thing we were not prepared for, was just how much wind can affect your drive. It can affect your time on the road. It can affect where you're staying. We found some great boondocking spots that had very wide open areas, and then they got really windy, and that sucked.
Couldn't keep our skylight open because we were afraid it was going to blow off.
Again.
We didn't want to put the awning up because we thought it would blow off.
Yeah, so that was our very first very rude lesson. Another thing that we learned is that rodents are a real problem with vans.
Yeah.
Thankfully, even though we've had a couple of scares so far about rodents getting in and chewing up wiring potentially, for us, we found that it was actually different problems with the van. So we haven't had the worst experience yet, and I really hope we don't ever. But man, we've heard stories of them getting in the engine, in the chassis, chewing up your insulation, chewing up your electrical wiring. That is a very expensive problem.
It's the electrical I would have a really hard time with. The insulation is one thing, which we did have a little evidence that some insulation was chewed, and we're kind of okay with that.
We were hoping they just ate our bagels and got out.
Yeah.
Hey, the little is eating our bagels.
We're not happy about them being in the van like we experienced either, but the wiring is a really scary thought because that could be so expensive to fix.
Yeah, and it can also take a very long time.
Yeah.
And speaking of problems with the van, lesson number 3 is the check engine light doesn't always indicate that there's a major problem going on.
Yeah, and I want to interrupt. Most cars, check engine lights is a really big problem.
At least in our experience.
Yeah.
We rarely ever saw a check engine light in our vehicles.
That's bad news.
If we did, we knew get straight to the mechanic.
Yeah. In these Sprinters, at least, I'm not sure about the other vans, Transits, and things like that, but the check engine light is pretty common. It is indicating something, but it doesn't always mean it's the worst possible case scenario.
And more often than not, it resolves itself, and within a couple few hours, it's off and it stays off.
Yeah.
Until the next time it feels like coming on again. It's like you go over a little bump, oh, check engine light. Oh, it's raining outside? Check engine light. These are the moodiest vans in the world, and they're extremely smart.
Very.
But sometimes I wish they would just dumb it down a little.
Yeah.
Should we start dishing on where we visited?
Yeah, let's dish.
We're gonna give away a few state or location superlatives as well. We started going up to Washington, D.C. I don't think there were any big surprises there. I mean, for me, there certainly weren't. I went to college there. I knew it very well, but I was really excited to get Steven's impressions.
Yeah, I loved it.
And anything that we did encounter, it's stuff that we shared in the video.
Yeah.
The public transit here is on par with what you find in Europe.
I agree with that.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the best in the U.S., for sure.
Yeah, it's pretty affordable, but do be prepared for pricing to change a little bit based on things like rush hour or maybe different days of the week. We've definitely found a harder time navigating the pricing than we have the actual lines and routes.
From there, we went up to Pennsylvania. And I think same thing there. We have experience in Pennsylvania. We'd been to Pennsylvania before, several parts of it.
My family's in Pennsylvania.
We went to see them, exactly. Other than our air conditioning going out and just having some fan issues, which hopefully you saw, and then of course the big issue that sent us home for a short time.
Now this week we head to Pennsylvania, where our commitment to this new lifestyle is really put to the test.
This sucks. What if we connected it backwards?
We don't know how we're gonna fix this.
When it rains, it pours, man. So yeah, there's some water running down back here. I hope this isn't an indicator of what life is really gonna be like with this thing.
But honestly, everything that happened there, the aches and pains that we experienced there, we shared in those videos, so no secrets to dish in that one. What was next? Niagara Falls. I think, you know, we went there expecting that to be a total tourist trap. We're not gonna fall for any of these like tours or anything like that, right?
Yeah.
Oh, did we cave?
We thought that we were gonna come here and go totally cheap. Just see what we could see from the viewpoints. We knew that would be pretty impressive as it was. But now that we see the boats down there and how close they're getting to the falls, and just that awesome perspective from the water level, I think we're gonna break down and do it.
We're so glad we did. It was.
Yeah.
We were perfectly happy with it before that, but it was so much better that we did that.
Definitely one of those cases where a highly tourist money-making situation was absolutely worth it from our perspective as well. And we highly recommend if you go to Niagara Falls, take the boat tour.
And we got a free shower.
There you go, van life.
Okay, our next van lesson. All of the drives are gonna take longer than what Google Maps tells you it's going to.
Yes, definitely. And not because you're driving a big vehicle that can't necessarily go as fast as your car, because we actually get good speed in ours.
Ace kicks butt.
Actually, what it is you're gonna wanna stop a lot.
Yeah.
If it's a 4-hour drive from point A to point B, you're probably gonna stop and get a snack. You're probably gonna have to stop and use the restroom. Even if you're using the restroom in your own RV, you gotta pull over to use it.
Yeah.
And then also all the roadside attractions and weird, quirky, what the heck is it? But mostly snacks.
Yeah. So we were just about to get onto the highway to go to our next stop, and Andy said, "Oh my God, go straight." And that's when I saw the free coffee.
The other thing that takes a lot longer than you would expect it to is getting ready to drive. After you've been camped somewhere, especially if you've been there for a few days, but even if it's just an overnight, the process of making sure everything is put away properly so nothing goes flying around the van while you're driving. If you have to do services, fill your water, empty your toilet situation, empty your gray water, any of that stuff, just plan on it taking a bit of time. Yeah. If you're going to a dump station area, there may be a wait. So there's no such thing as just a quick morning. Get up and get going, unless you've done it in advance. And that is our tip, is definitely, if you have a drive, especially if you want to get going early in the morning, take care of everything the night before or the afternoon before services or places might close up for the night.
Yeah.
Get it done, go to sleep, roll out of bed the next morning and into the front seat. You're good to go. Let's get back into some of those places we visited. After Pennsylvania and after getting our skylight repaired, again, we made our way up to Michigan. We'd been there before. We went to Frankenmuth and got to see a German festival there. And that was more on the eastern side of the state. But this time, we went on the western side of the state and then up along the Great Lakes that way to Mackinac Island and the Upper Peninsula. Michigan has got to be, of all the states we visited so far, the most underrated. What a beautiful state. What I think my favorite was Leland? Fishtown?
That was incredible.
That was so cool. And it was just such a great start to what ended up being a fantastic trip through the whole state, I think. That is a state that just does not get enough credit. After that, we did our cheese curd tour through Wisconsin. I have a hard time saying that.
Delicious.
Cheese curd tour. Cheese curd tour. I think just like with some of the others, it was exactly as we should. From there, we went to Minneapolis, Minnesota, and that again, I think that was as we totally got busted going in there.
In the best way.
In the best way possible. And then from there, we went down to Colorado, and we were so excited to finally go to Colorado because, being from California, we felt like these are our people.
Yeah.
We just thought that we'd really feel at home there. And we have also heard so much from other van lifers, RVers, that it's very friendly towards that lifestyle. We went down to Denver, Boulder, and Colorado Springs.
Yep.
And then from there we went up into the mountains. And I have to say I was really disappointed.
Yeah, we're sorry, Colorado, but we just were not feeling the vibes from people.
At least, I don't know, maybe we went to the wrong parts. But the cities we found to just be so lacking in character. I mean, I couldn't tell the difference between Denver, Boulder, and Colorado Springs.
Yeah,
you could drop me in any one, and it was just suburbs and big box stores and very like new build, and there was just very little character and very little culture there.
And all around, do not park here if you have a van.
Oh, they are
especially not overnight.
Yeah. The van life thing that people talk about, what they don't specify, they say Colorado as if it's all over the state. It's not.
Yeah.
Not in those cities, and possibly not in any of the cities. In the mountains, there's fantastic boondocking, there's some great campsites. It is definitely worth going up there. But in the cities themselves, it was a very NIMBY vibe.
Yeah.
Even the places that you're used to being able to park, like a Walmart
Bass Pro
or a
Shop.
Cabela's and Bass Pro Shops type of place, they all had parking lots that were governed by the local city ordinances. And so even if the business would be inclined to allow you to park there overnight, the city would not allow it.
Yeah.
So we actually ended up staying in a hotel a lot of the time that we were in Colorado Springs, and then finally do our boondocking and camping when we got up into the mountains, which were gorgeous, but the people were a little standoffish too. If you ask me, people make or break a place.
Absolutely.
If we have a great experience with the people, if they're helpful, if they're interesting, if they're kind, then that's gonna absolutely color our impression of a place.
Clarksdale, Mississippi, we're talking about you.
Yeah, fantastic people. Some of the most friendly we've ever met. Colorado, we found people to be pretty standoffish.
Pretty cold.
Yeah, it was weird. I just never felt like I could make a connection with anyone that I spoke to there. It wasn't that they couldn't be bothered, but they just really didn't give a fuck. All right, we've got another one that we want to dish on because we had a really bummer experience in another state as well. But before we do, let's get back to some of those van lessons. Our next van lesson is that you really should consider what you pack.
Naturally.
We thought we were being very minimal about what we were doing, but we were excited for all the outdoor time that we would have. So we made sure we had great outdoor chairs, an outdoor rug. The van has an awning on it. And you know what? We hardly ever use any of those things. We just don't really hang out at the van. We're either driving it so everything is packed up, or we get to our destination and then we're out exploring the destination.
Yeah.
So we're not the type to really hang out at a camp. If you are, you're definitely gonna wanna have that nice outdoor setup so that you can really lounge, have a chill time, get all the frills and fancy whatevers. I mean, we see people setting up like full-on decorations and welcome signs and name signs.
Family name.
Yeah, I mean, people really get into it. And if you're a person who likes to hang out in the RV parks or in the camps and just spend time there, then by all means, enjoy the heck out of those things. But if you're like us and the camper van is kind of a means to getting to the destinations, and where you're parked is not really where you're actually going to see and spend most of your time, you can save yourself the trouble and the space and just leave those things at home. Bring a really basic chair. We've put our chairs out a couple times. We don't need the rug though. And if you don't have an awning on your van, if you're not going to spend a lot of time at the van, don't spend the money putting the awning on.
Another van lesson we want to talk about, which we kind of alluded to a little bit when we were talking about the check engine light. These things are constant maintenance in one way or another.
Yeah.
It might not always be a repair to the engine or mechanics or things like that. It could be something with your build came loose or fell off or broke. That's constant.
2 words that have no place in van life, I'm learning. Real quick. Just gonna go someplace real quick. I'm just gonna do this thing real quick. I'm just gonna fix this cabinet real quick. Nope.
You're always doing work, you're always doing projects, and quite frankly, it's a lot of money.
It really is.
So definitely keep a cushion when you're doing your budget. Just don't plan every single dollar. Just the mechanic stuff, going for regular servicing, when we need new tires, things like that. Even things that are just like normal maintenance and not the problems that have come up.
Right.
But then add on to that, we had to get our AC fixed, a sensor put in, a new accelerator pedal put in. We crossed the 100,000 miles point with our van. So that definitely added to the regular maintenance and just parts that need to be repaired.
Yeah.
And so these things were pretty normal as well, but not exactly things that we planned for. And I would say in the last year probably, we've averaged a few hundred, probably around $500 or $600 in repairs per month.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. So definitely, that was not something we were counting on. Luckily, we're in a position we can make that work. I just keep taking more and more gigs. He just keeps taking more and more gigs, and we pay for what we gotta pay for. But if you're not counting on it, if you don't have steady job or steady work situation going on, then definitely make sure you give yourself a cushion. Another lesson we learned is that you need to think about brakes.
Not the ones on the van.
I knew he was gonna say that. Brakes in your time and your travels, for sure. Because if you're just going, you are gonna get exhausted a lot faster
Yeah.
than you realize. We wish that we had given ourselves more time last year to keep up with work, to keep up with vlogs. I mean, this is why we're 6 months later and finally just wrapping up our 2023 travels. But we're making some changes so that doesn't happen again. We really wish that we had given ourselves more time instead of just driving to the next destination, running around seeing that place, and then getting right back on the road and driving to the next one. And I think we're finding it a lot nicer now that we're giving ourselves a chance to just kind of stay put for a few days.
Yeah.
It gives us more flexibility. It gives us the opportunity to deal with issues with the van if we need to. I would highly recommend that you don't go too fast. Give yourself breaks, whether it's just to rest, just for your mental health, for your arms from the driving.
Oh, man.
Whatever it is, trust me, you'll be glad you did. All right, should we get to some more of these states?
Let's dish. Wyoming was one of the states that was probably the biggest surprise for us.
Yeah.
And if you watched our vlog, you know why. If you haven't watched it, go check it out right after you finish watching this video because it is fantastic.
Oh, we loved it there. After Wyoming, we went up to Montana to spend some time in Glacier National Park, which is tops of so many people's national park lists, so we were so excited to get to that one. Unfortunately, our time in Montana was a little disappointing.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go backwards and start with Glacier, which was the end of our Montana visit, and really the only part of Montana that we showed in our vlog.
Yeah.
It was really pretty, but it wasn't what I was expecting based on it being so many people's favorites. Going to the Sun Road is always listed as one of the most epically beautiful drives in the world. And so we made sure that we were gonna get to do that while we were there. We could not wait. And honestly, it was terribly underwhelming.
Yeah.
It was pretty.
Very pretty.
Yeah, I mean, there were some pretty views. You know, we enjoyed the heck out of our time there. And we shared that because we try to stay positive about our experiences. We try to at least show what we enjoy, if nothing else. And if we do have a bad time somewhere or something, we usually leave it out. That's gonna change in our 2024 run because we had a very bad time somewhere, and we'll be sharing that in a few weeks. As far as Glacier goes, it's a very pretty park. We really enjoyed the heck out of ourselves there because we went with my sister and her husband. And I think maybe if our expectations weren't quite so high, we would have enjoyed it a little more and appreciated it a little more.
And also coming right off of Yellowstone, which we were blown away by.
Yeah, so our expectations were extremely high after that, and it just didn't quite meet them. It's definitely a park worth visiting, but it didn't even make our top 3. Now, having said that, the thing that really tainted our experience in Montana is something we didn't show on the vlog.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's just because we weren't filming. It was a day that we were running errands. We were getting ready to go up to Glacier, and it was just an experience we had with a man there who didn't like the fact that we had a California flag on the front of our van.
Yeah.
As I mentioned earlier, people can make or break a place. And we had heard that in Montana, they don't really care much for California. And that was definitely another one of our van life lessons as well. People will judge you based on the state on your license plate.
Yeah.
We have North Carolina on the back because that's where we live now, but we have the California flag on the front because we love it there, and we're so proud to be from California. And unfortunately, that just rubbed someone the wrong way in a Target parking lot. He tried to intimidate us. He was extremely rude. I mean, you know, these things happen. Needless to say, we went into Target, and then immediately Steven turned around and said, I'm going to just go check the van, because we weren't sure that it wasn't going to be keyed or egged or something.
Yeah.
Not because of anything we did or said, because we were very careful to be friendly and not antagonize this person. But, you know, we just kind of had a bad feeling after that and didn't know what to trust. So that is the truth about our experience there, as well as the lesson that you will be judged. And that brings us to our final van life lesson. You will be judged for traveling in an RV or a camper van, especially if you appear to live in it. People may think that you're homeless or that you're just not what their idea of a contributing member of society is.
Right.
And a lot of people around this country really hate that.
Yeah.
They have a lot of vitriol towards people that they perceive as not doing things the way they should, working the 9 to 5 and doing the grind, and they don't ask. So the fact that we work, they don't even consider. The fact that we have a permanent address, they don't even consider.
Right.
And quite frankly, these things don't matter.
Yeah.
I mean, it shouldn't matter, at least. We are sensitive to the fact that there has been an increasing problem and concern about the unhoused in the United States, especially in cities.
Yeah.
So we understand that people can be very angry and very protective of where they live, for sure. But we also wish that people didn't just assume the worst. And sometimes just taking the time to communicate with people or ask or just wait and see if someone's actually really doing anything wrong or bad would just make things a lot more pleasant for everyone. It would also keep them from getting all worked up over probably nothing. But let's get back to finishing up about our dishing on things and giving out our state superlatives, shall we?
Up next, we have Idaho and Utah, which both were pretty much as we showed them in our vlogs.
Yeah, I don't think we held anything back from those. I think we really enjoyed our times there, and we showed exactly that.
Yeah.
After that was New Mexico. And there was definitely some frustration there that we did not include in our vlog because we had so many amazing things there that we could share.
Pretty awesome.
Oh, we had a wonderful time in New Mexico. It definitely wasn't too terribly tainted by it, but the problem we found there pretty much all over the state, but especially Albuquerque and points south, were the trash. And I don't mean typical litter. It wasn't just bottles or food packaging along the roads or sidewalks, things like that. It was actual household trash everywhere. On freeway on and off ramps, on BLM lands, and not in the parts where the people camp, by the way, but in areas that we know for a fact to be used by locals, because one local told us. So New Mexico has so much history, so much culture, some of the friendliest people we met. Very gentle, very soft-spoken, all over.
Delicious food.
Oh, such incredible food. But there was so much trash, it really bummed us out.
Yeah.
And then after New Mexico, we went to Louisiana. And I think we pretty much expressed what we felt about that, I mean, my only drawback there was when they were feeding the wildlife on our swamp tour, and we said that in the video.
I loved seeing all the animals. I didn't love that they fed them all. I kind of wish it felt a little bit more organic, but it was cool that it brought them up nice and close, so we got a really good look at everything.
So that is the wrap-up of our 2023 epic road trip. I hope you guys have watched all the videos. If you haven't, go back and check some of them out because we had such a good time and we learned so much. And with that, we are going to close with a few superlatives from that trip.
Yes.
Would you like to take the first one?
I will start with one of the most important things for me, best pizza of 2023. Where was that?
Oh, easily, Alexandria, Virginia. We did not include this in one of our vlogs, and I really regret it. It was an evening that we took with some friends while we were in Washington, D.C. We met up with them in Alexandria, Virginia, and they took us to a place called Stracciatella, and holy moly, that was such a good pizza. It had grilled peaches, which I know is going to be controversial, but just do not knock it till you try it.
That was for me too, and it was bomb.
So good. But honestly, what makes a good pizza? It's the ingredients, it's the crust. Everything there was so fresh. The crust was perfect. It was Roman style.
Next
Cannot say
level.
enough about it. Next level. That's what you say. Our next superlative is best wildlife.
Oh,
Hands down, no competition.
Yep.
Yellowstone National Park in Wyoming.
Yeah.
Like we said before, if you haven't seen that video already, go back and watch it in about 2 minutes because we are going to wrap this up soon and you're going to want to see it.
bison by the dozen.
Moose, elk. It was such an incredible wildlife experience. And our final superlative is for RV and van life people specifically. It was the best boondocking.
Yep.
That one goes to Moab. Definitely check out that video because Moab is such a great place to put yourself if you want to see national parks, amazing state parks.
Yep.
Great boondocking, great food. They have services, off-roading if you're into that.
Super friendly.
Oh, so wonderful.
The town is wonderful. Everything you need in that town.
However, our very close second for best boondocking goes to our first official boondocking experience, and
Yes.
that is in South Dakota, right near Badlands.
Yeah, incredible.
So fantastic. We found great spots there, incredible views. Also worth a stop on your next road trip.
Big time.
So there it is. Our van life lessons from 2023, our superlatives, and our dish.
Yep, you want to come for us? Leave us in the comments.
Yeah. Now we are ready to take you along on our 2024 epic road trip, which just
Finally.
started last month in April. Can you believe that? It's already May. And by the time you're watching this, it's gonna be June. Thank you so much for watching, you guys.
See you next
See you
time.
next time.